Cari studenti, buongiorno. Questa è la lezione del 16 marzo 2020 per Asia e Africa 1. Vorrei cominciare con il sorriso perché YouTube mi ha inviato delle congratulazioni perché ho superato i 100 iscritti. Quindi nel caso in cui volessi cambiare carriera e diventare la nuova Chiara Ferragni, sarà tutto grazie a voi e al gruppo di CP. Comunque, prima di passare alla nostra solita review, volevo chiedervi di darmi un po' di feedback, di farmi capire se la lezione è troppo lenta, se è troppo veloce. Vi ringrazio per avermi detto di mettere i link nel commento. Ci avevo pensato, ma avevo fretta di aggiornare tutto, di mettermi al passo con le lezioni. Sarà fatto a partire da questa lezione e poi piano piano lo metterò anche per gli altri, i video che ho già fatto. Sto anche sperimentando per questa settimana un nuovo sistema di registrazione, un nuovo software, quindi fatemi sapere se si sente bene, se tutto scorre più o meno in maniera fluida. Inoltre, questione libri. Ovviamente non ci sono preoccupazioni, seguite dalle slide e non ci saranno problemi. Solo dalle slide va benissimo, ok? Ovviamente commenti, se avete domande metteteli sotto i video oppure mandatemi un'email. Okay, now let's start with today. So last week we talked about Lankan, Malaysian, Singapore, and many African Englishes and some aspects of their consonants. So we were considering the fricatives th and the, and we said that in this group they become something like there's a double sound, like to thin or this, okay? I'm pretty sure that I'm not pronouncing them the way a Singaporean would do, but the important thing here is to focus on the fact that they are no longer considered an incorrect pronunciation, but just local variants, okay? This is the passage that goes from an inner circle to the outer circle. Then we looked at the aspect of the consonant w, that is pronounced more like a v in Lankan and some Indian Englishes. So wet becomes like vet, more or less. Second aspect that we looked at was the aspiration, the usual aspiration that is pronounced after P, T, and K at the beginning of a word is without a pronunciation in post-colonial Englishes. So a word like pin and tin and cap, do you hear that H right after the P, T, and K? Well, that does not exist in post-colonial Englishes, and so it becomes something closer to bin, din, and gap. Then we looked at consonants not only at the beginning of a word, but also at the end of a word. In Englishes like West Indian, colloquial Singaporean, or Ghanaian, a word like cat might be pronounced without the T, okay? So cat or glottal stop. Glottal stop means that it stops, that sound stops a little in your throat, like cat. Or when I pronounce the word at, okay? That's what happens. Then we looked at, again, some Western African, Papua New Guinean varieties that change a voiceless sound and make it become a voiced sound. What does this mean? Words like feed, gave, and rob, okay? I explained all that thing about how to distinguish a voiceless and a voiced sound. These words become voiceless. So a word like gave becomes gave, or feed is closer to fit, and rob is more like rob. Okay? Then I gave you a series of videos to watch and comment on. The first one was about Tok Pisin, okay, the Creole of Papua New Guinea, and we looked at some vocabulary. Okay, it's a simplified language, of course. And we also watched Prince Charles speaking Pidgin English in Papua New Guinea for a speech. Then we got more into Singaporean English with the lack of distinction between R and L, very typical of the the Asian varieties of English. So red is pronounced more like lead. And then we'll see why that happens later on during the course. And we had some fun watching some Singaporean English tutorials about how this variety of English shortens sentences, like I don't want becomes don't want. And we looked at all their typical expressions, no, like xiao, that means crazy, or several swearing words. We're not going to get too much into that, but that was quite fun to listen to. And not only did we watch these tutorials about Singaporean, but also we watched some videos about how Americans try to pronounce to speak like a Singaporean, to speak Singaporean English. Okay, and that was both for, there was the first video on pronunciation differences, and then we also looked at some vocabulary. Okay. And last aspect that we analyzed was the pronunciation of sh. Okay, in International Phonetical Alphabet, this is sh sound. Okay, this is usually pronounced s by speakers of some East African Englishes or Hong Kong English, and so a word like ship becomes closer to ship, sip. Okay, from sh to s. Okay, good. So let's go back to something new for today. Today we're going to talk about vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U, and anything in between that. Singaporean, Indian, and some African Englishes do not distinguish between short and long vowels. Okay, an E, an I, or E. I or E are the two sounds that you see over here, okay? This in IPA is an I sound, like the word sit, and this instead is pronounced E. Sit and seat, okay? Sit, sedersi, seat, sedia, okay? Posto a sedere. So if you listen to it in British English, in RP pronunciation, there's definitely a difference between how you pronounce sit and how you pronounce seat. This does not happen in these varieties of English, where they both tend to pronounce it as it, I. Okay, so there's no difference between SIT, sit, and SEAT, that will be pronounced more or less the same, sit. And then I'm pretty sure that you're going to cover all the vowels and the IPA with your mother tongue teachers. Second aspect. Let's see what happens to the letter A. Okay? So in many post-colonial Englishes, like Lankan, Singaporean, Indian, Philippines, and Jamaican, the British, the RP, sound A. In American, it would be different for the word staff, but this vowel is pronounced without length. So this means that there is no difference between the word stuff and stuff. Okay? An outsider, if an outsider, a person who does not speak these post-colonial Englishes, hears this pronunciation, they're going to hear something that is closer to the word stuff than staff. Okay? Remember that I use American English, so my A's are a little different from British English. Okay? But there would be no difference between these two words. Then, let's talk about the schwa. Okay, schwa is in IPA this little E that is upside down. It's an sound, okay? Neapolitan, if you think about Neapolitan, okay? Neapolitan uses this letter, this sound a lot. Mammat, patat, okay? That that you hear at the end of the word is exactly a schwa, okay? So many African Englishes tend to produce the schwa sound, the sound, as a vowel, okay? An A at the end of a word. So I think you can recall some African people saying mata, okay? The mata. What are they saying? They're actually using the word that in RP pronunciation would be matter, okay? The matter. American English is different. Again, matter. But matter, British English, becomes mata, more or less, for African English varieties. Now, diphthongs. Diphthongs means that there are two vowels, one next to the other, and they make one sound, okay? These tend to become shorter in post-colonial Englishes. What does this mean? Think of the word take, okay? Take. It's written T-A-K-E, but you pronounce two vowels, right? It's E-I. A. Take. Sorry for the sound, for the noise. So A-E, take. In these varieties, post-colonial Englishes, this sound, the diphthong, becomes closer to an E sound. So a word like take becomes closer to tek, okay? Take becomes tek, one sound. It's no longer a diphthong, okay, two sounds, but a monophthong, one sound. Now, for this class, I want to focus on the variety of Malaysian English. Okay, these videos will give you further details into the pronunciation of vowels, but also vocabulary. The first video that I'm going to show you, that we're going to watch together, is about Malaysian English and how it is different. There are two young ladies, and they're going to talk about some typical pronunciation patterns, but also sentences, okay? Phrases that can be used in Malaysian English. This video lasts about 8 minutes, and what I want you to do is to pause the video, go to the first, I think it's the first link that I put right in the comment box, and please watch it, and we'll be back in about 8 minutes. Okay, so we're back, and so you heard that you heard some typical phrases like, can I tapao this? Now I have to pause the video, I apologize. Okay, sorry for that. So there were some sentences like, can I tapao this? Can I have this takeaway? So can I have a take? Can I just have this to eat it at home? Or is it very jam now? Is the traffic bad? Okay, so as you can see, simplified English that is a mix between the local languages and English. And And then something that is typical of Asian languages, and of course you know this better than me, the combination between English and the local varieties. So, okay la, that can be used in an affirmative sentence or as okay, depending on the context, of course, and intonation. And then, okay me, like, are you sure that this is okay? Or then she gives other examples like, see how, like, let's see how it goes. Okay. Okay, so now I want to show you some, we're going to watch this other video together about how to speak in Malaysian accent. Okay, the video lasts 8 minutes 30, and I want you to listen to him carefully because it's the first of 3 videos. Okay, so please pause the video and go to this link. So in this first video about what he calls Manglish, Malaysian accent, Malaysian English, this YouTuber analyzes the difference between the usage of already, that is used like a sort of question mark at the end of a sentence. Like instead of saying, have you eaten, you would hear something like, you eaten already? Okay? Of course, with a different pronunciation than mine. Or, already is also used to indicate a past or present continuous or present perfect. So something that started in the past and that continues in the present. So to say it's raining, you would accompany that with it is raining already. Okay? And then last part of the video concerns exclamations. Okay? Specifically la, way and ah. Okay, more or less, and of course you have to watch the video for more details. La is used to assure somebody. Okay, like you would hear something like, don't worry la, it's going to be fine. Okay, you want to assure the listener. Second one is way, and way indicates something emotional. It adds an emotional term to a sentence. For a class, maybe it could be damn boring way. Adding this to the end of the sentence. And finally, there's a, that has several meanings. We'll look at that in the other videos. But first thing first, it can be used as a question mark. So where are we going is usually accompanied by where an a. So where are we going? A. Okay, my intonation is certainly not not close to that at all. But it would be pretty interesting to open a conversation on comments in the comment box about the differences and the similarities that you see between these varieties of English and how these words and these exclamations, these patterns are similar or different from the languages that you are studying. I know that most of you are studying Asian languages. So you are studying, somebody was studying Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Okay, so it would be pretty interesting to have your opinion about this. Second video that I want you to watch, Malaysian accent part 2. Okay, so please watch this video. It lasts, I think, around 8 minutes too. And see you back in a couple of minutes. This video was more on typical expressions of Malaysian English, of Manglish, and the comparison with the local language. More specifically, it focused on the adding of where got, okay, to say, how can this be? For an exclamation. And then, how to complain using the word one at the end of a sentence. If you remember the video that we watched about the two girls sitting outside on the porch, they were talking about the same thing, okay? About complaining about the room, adding the word one at the end of the sentence. Then, last part about Malaysian accent for today. I want you to watch this video. It's a little longer, 9 minutes 20, and it focuses on some similarities between Malaysian English and Asian languages. So please pause the video and go to the next link. Okay, so this one gave you lots of practice to do, okay, on how to use these words and the words that were included in the first and second video. More specifically, it focused on can gua, okay, like you want to do something, somebody asks you to do something actually, and you're not pretty sure that you want to do it or that you are able to do it. More or less a 40% probability that you're going to do it. So if you said can gua at the end of a sentence, it means don't count on me because I'm not going to do it, I'm not able to do it, whatever. Then, can. If you reply to somebody asking you to do a favor using can, it certainly means that you're very probably going to do it. So you will do it, 99%. You answer can. Or, if somebody does something very impressive, can gua. Okay? And last thing for today, I want you to watch something a little different that goes back to what we were talking about, what we were saying about diphthongs, monotongues, and the pronunciation of schwa, and so on. I want you to watch this last video over here. Here, there is the opposite perspective, because it's no longer a British or an American speaking person that introduces you to other varieties of English. It's actually the opposite. It is a person with an Indian English accent that introduces pronunciation patterns for British and American English. So please pause the video here and watch this other video. Again, I'm not going to ask you to tell me about every single accent, every single characteristic, of course. That would be crazy. I want you to know a little bit of everything, but more specifically to focus on a language preference, okay? Maybe something that is close to the other languages that you study, a variety of English that you're particularly interested in, okay? So, going back to what we did today, very quickly. We started vowel sounds. We looked at Singaporean English and African Englishes that do not distinguish between short vowels and long vowels. So there's no difference between I and I. Sit and seat, pronounced more or less the same. We also said that there are no long vowels, okay, so it's the case of a over here, and that becomes short, so staff is close to stuff to an outsider. we looked at what happens with the schwa, okay? That is pronounced like a vowel at the end of a word. So a word like matter in British English becomes mata in an African English, for instance. Then we said that usually diphthongs, okay, two vowels close one next to the other, are usually reduced to monophthongs. So a word like take with the AE sound becomes closer to tick. Finally, we focused for today on Malaysian English, and we looked at several characteristics of this language, going from vocabulary that is brought into English, to the English-Malaysian variety from the local languages, mixtures of the variety in English and the local language, and more specifically, we looked at expressions that are used to convey something emotive in the language, okay? Exclamations. And last thing, we watched that video that gives you an idea about vowels, the explanation that I gave, the explanations that I gave you about vowels. Okay, so last thing for today, we're going to listen to a song, and it's How to Save a Life. I'll read the lyrics, and then you can go to YouTube and watch the video. Step 1, you say, we need to talk. He walks, you say, sit down, it's just a talk. He smiles politely back at you. You stare politely right on through. Some sort of window to your right, as he goes left and you stay right. Between the lines of fear and blame, you begin to wonder why you came. Where did I go wrong? I lost a friend, somewhere along the bitterness, and I would have stayed up with you all night, had I known how to save a life. Let him know that you know best, 'cause after all, you do know best. Try to slip past his defense without granting innocence. Lay down a list of what is wrong, the things you've told him all along. Pray to God, he hears you, and I pray to God, he hears you. And where did I go wrong? I lost a friend, sometimes along the bitterness, and I would have stayed up with you all night, had I known how to save a life. As he begins to raise his voice, you lower yours and grant him one last choice. Drive until you lose the road, or break with the ones you've followed. He will do one of two things. He will admit to everything, or he'll say he's just not the same, and you'll begin to wonder why you came. Where did I go wrong? I lost a friend, somewhere along in the bitterness, and I would have stayed up with you all night, had I known how to save a life. And then it repeats. Okay, so this is the end of the class for March 16th. I hope everything is clear. If not, just send me a comment. And see you tomorrow on Tuesday for our next class. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.